Your questions.
Why do you? Hey, did you get hurt while you tackled the grizzly bear?
Okay, so when I wrestled the grizzly bear, yes, I got hurt. So I had my elbow taken off, but look, they put me back together. I had my elbow. That was a bear. That was a bear, Mark.
Claw?
Yeah, and then look, he got my shoulder. Look at that. And he didn't finish. Look, he got my knee. Oh my goodness, look at that. Look at the knee. But I survived. I survived.
And the leg?
Yeah, my legs too. Oh my goodness.
Where do you wrestle the bear?
Oh my gosh. At Moore Park Junior College, where all you kids should aspire to go to, they have a zoo and the animals get out all the time. All the time. Do we not have a huge bear? Do we not have a huge lion? It roars. Whoever is last, if you don't step behind the other guy, they have to run laps. Why? They don't get away from the lion. They're puppy chow.
So you're saying that there's a possibility that we might die if we go?
No, I am not saying that. I'm saying some of my wrestlers might if they don't react fast enough. And focus. Remember Coach Brian says
What if you're not a
focus?
wrestler and you don't know what you're doing and then you die?
What happens if
I don't know. That's a good parent question. I'm not gonna handle that one.
All right, you guys got some wrestling questions?
How long has I wrestled? Okay. I will be quick. I started in the YMCA. Okay, so I started in the YMCA. I was probably 6 years old. I'm one of 5 all a year apart. Our sister is the baby ballerina. She's the youngest prima ballerina in the world. She's famous. We were motocross racers. That was our number. That's our A sport. Somebody got eaten by a lion, so we had to go to wrestling. That's not too far off. So we did wrestling. I started in the YMCA. I was about as big as you, and me and my brothers would wrestle each other and tussle to the point where we were beating the guys in the YMCA that were as big as him. And so we just kept going and going, and then we found this club, Black Watch Club in Upland, and we started there, and from there on we went to nationals, kid wrestling nationals when we were little, and we just kept going. And I'm gonna tell you, I thought high school was tough. High school was tough. I had a lot of trouble, always injured, always a bear trying to get me in a lion. Yeah, I got to wrestle with the right opponent.
Yes.
When I got to college, I understood wrestling. All the stuff that you're going to learn this week, if you learn it now, wrestling's easy. For me, high school was really hard. I never went to a wrestling camp. Never went to a wrestling camp. So I got to go to a wrestling camp when I got to college. I understood what wrestling's about. College was real easy for me. Real easy. I didn't think college was that hard. High school was very difficult because I didn't know how to get out of positions. And if you don't know how to wrestle in and out of positions, you're what?
A goner.
You're a goner, right? No, you gotta expend too much energy. You know, when you guys are underneath each other, you could easily come out to the side. You guys are trying to, or you're on the mat and you're trying to do a push-up, right? Well, what do? We do that knee slide, and that's effortless, right? And you don't get tired. So I did it all the hard way. Then I went to college. I saw all these guys that went to Russia. They learned all this moves, and all I did was study them. I studied my own wrestlers in the room, and I wanted to be the best in the wrestling room.
So you were taking notes of what every opponent
I was scouting.
doing?
I was scouting
like,
my own buddies, my own friends.
His hair was brown.
Yeah. See all those guys over there? They study each other. They want to be top dog, right? They want to be the grizzly. They all want to be the grizzly in the wrestling room. Be the grizzly, right?
Who's the one of the toughest wrestlers you've ever wrestled? Any story with that?
My brother was the toughest. So see that dislocation right there? That's my oldest brother, and he would go in here and he'd rip me up. And
how much older was he?
He was 2 years older. He's my oldest brother, but it doesn't matter. You can never beat your older brother because then you beat you up. So that was my toughest match. I think my hardest match and probably my worst match was with Mike Sheets.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of good wrestlers. I mean, Ken Sheets. Look at Ken Sheets. He ended up being the world champion. I lost to him 4-3, and I should never. The guy's best he did was 7th at NCAAs. And he just destroyed Schultz and everybody.
Yeah, Coach.
So it's styles. So when you go, who's the toughest? You know, the toughest wrestler I have to wrestle is someone who doesn't let me get my position and my moves. They take it away, so I have to adapt in a match. So that's my toughest. It's not really who's ranked number 1 or who's 3, who's a physical guy. It's someone who's smart enough to take me out of my own wrestling void. And if that's the case, then you got to do plan B, plan C. And that's a good coach and a good wrestler. Strategy, very important. You got to be a smart wrestler.
What's one of the most important things you've learned from the sport of wrestling?
Well, everything else is easy. They tell you that. So I have kids that didn't do very well in wrestling. They're Navy SEALs, and they said it's easy to be a Navy SEAL. I coach some kids at TO.
Wow.
The Catavians, they're all doctors, urologists, anesthesiologists. Shane Laguna, hey, Westlake, Shane Laguna, coached him. He's a physician. He's an orthopedic surgeon. So he says, hey, hang in there. So all these kids, you guys learn to focus like Coach says. You focus. Whatever you do, don't forget to focus. When you're on the wrestling mat, you're in a neutral position, top, bottom, right? Remember to focus. What do I do when I'm on the bottom? What do I do when I'm on the top? Focus, focus, focus. And then it helps you with your schoolwork and everywhere else.
Did somebody actually get eaten by a lion?
I felt like I got eaten several times on the wrestling mat by a lion, yes.
Oh,
Yes.
so that was a metaphor.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, good for you. Oh, wow. And you know what made me feel better? A big ice cream sandwich. I like the ice cream.
Where is our ice cream?
Root beer floats are good
Ice
too.
cream,
All right,
ice
what do you got?
cream,
What do you got?
ice
Bring it
cream,
on.
ice cream.
What type of wrestling did you grow up to?
So I did all of it. So when we went to wrestling tournaments, if my dad paid $5 to an entry fee, you were doing Greco-Roman, freestyle, and collegiate. You did everything. In fact, I also wrestled Samba.
Wait, did you
What's
do
the
boxing
sparring like a little one?
Sir, did you do boxing at any
I
time?
don't know.
at one point?
Did someone take a swipe at me and I didn't know it? Those lions are quick. You got to be fast. What?
Did you ever do boxing?
Anytime a guy's got a big bear claw coming at me, what do you do to a bear claw?
Dodge it.
Take a bite out of it. They're yummy.
No,
you guys never saw a bear claw?
You grab it, then you go up.
Go to Dunkin' Donuts. They got these great bear claws. They're huge. They'll fill you up. That's all you gotta do. Yeah. Bear claw. What?
Okay, I'll take
So what made you want to coach?
Want to coach? I wanted to get back because I realized how hard it was without somebody. My dad says, "Oh, just get tough." That's what dads say, right? Oh, you just go get tough. Just do the garbage, do something. Well, that's what my dad said, right? And he didn't want to pay for anything. So I learned, when you learn wrestling, you can make it easy for kids. And that's what we're trying to do. This whole week is about trying to make wrestling easy for you
But
guys.
sometimes, did you train when your father told you to do your chores?
I did my chores first.
No,
and I
did
waited until he was about ready to drive up, and then I looked real busy.
But you-
Never be caught watching TV when your dad comes home. He gets mad.
But when you were cleaning up your room or doing your chores, did you ever do practicing if there was stuff like equipment for practicing?
Yeah. Well, we always had to clean up. We always had to get organized, right? And I was a middle child, so every time I did something, I broke something. So what happened? What happened? I would get whipped, so I had to learn to run around the house. If your parents ever want to whip you, just run around the house. They will never catch you.
Every time. What about if you're cornered?
Oh, if you're cornered, what do you dive between their legs? That was our move. That was the move. Escape your parents. Dive between their legs. Submarine. All right,
Kids,
what else?
let's get serious wrestling questions.
Okay, have you?
So, like, from going into high school to college, did your confidence level increase or decrease?
So think about this. I never won a state championship. Think about that. I was ranked #1 twice, okay? And I only got to wrestle 2 times for state for other reasons, injuries or whatever. So I had beaten the guy already. My brother, the younger brother, was a 4-time finalist and had beaten the other 2. So he should have been the first 4-time, right? And he was a lot slower than us. We're like, whatever. But he knew how to get it done. So when you're talking about confidence, we were always confident. I mean, I won the Worlds in high school. I won the Worlds. I beat the #1 ranked guy. So I technically was the #1 ranked guy at my weight coming out of high school. But that's just because I was really quick and hated to lose and was always in great shape. Had nothing to do with technique. Then I learned technique, and everything just became easy. It's like, what? You mean I could go around the leg like this instead of fighting and losing all the energy? So that's why I want to get back as a coach, because you can make things. There's so many tricks. And everybody else flies back. You had Randy Lewis, he goes back to Blitzy, and they teach him. The Schultz brothers all went back there, right? They learn all this technique. They're not sharing that with you because they don't want you to beat them. And when we were training for the Olympic qualifier, you're not wrestling with Schultz, who was ranked #1, and I was 2 and 3. No, they're not going to let you wrestle them. Why? They don't want to get beat. They don't want to teach you anything. So you're wrestling with your brothers. And so that's how it is. And so what you do is you figure them out. You scout them. You watch their videos. You talk about how fortunate I was. So we had the #2 UCLA in 1980 had one of the best programs with Auble. Crazy man, he's probably listening, but crazy man, Auble, right? Loved one of my brothers, hated the others, just crazy stuff. They had the Schultz brothers, they had the best team. That next year, my freshman year coming in, we could have beaten Iowa. And I was #1 at the time. So you had that, they disbanded, so we went to Arizona State, wrestled for Bobby Douglas, the most wonderful, wonderful guy there is in the world. A great technician, totally different than Dan Gable. So think about top 10, he ended up winning a national title 2 years after I left. And Dan Gable. 2 totally different ways of approaching wrestling. They both have the same goal, it's win a national championship. But in Gable's room, you get someone, you do 15 minutes of thing, and then you brawl. You brawl for an hour and a half, you're done. And then you work on anything you want to do. In Bobby Douglas's room, we didn't have as much depth. It was hard drilling, hard drilling. We never went live. And if you did go live, he'd kick you out of the room because he's afraid of us getting hurt. So Eddie Urbano was there when I was there, and he was my #2 guy behind me, and we would brawl. Oh, we would brawl so much. It was crazy. Then what happened? That brawling got him to wrestle, he wrestled Jimmy Heffernan in the finals and beat Jimmy Heffernan. Why? He was used to that brawling. He always wanted to fight in the room. You go to Iowa, they're always fighting in the room. Always fighting. That's good and bad. Doesn't mean one's better than the other. It just means they both approach wrestling and their practices differently. And you have it all the coaches. For me at Moore Park, we do hard drilling because we don't have a lot of kids. So it's a lot like Bobby Douglas had. We didn't have a lot of depth. Iowa, we had 5 guys. We had a guy that's #1 and #3. So one's going to wrestle and one gets nothing. Nothing. That was Kerber and Trezino. Crazy stuff. So, yep.
Yeah. Does Gatorade help you in wrestling?
If it makes you feel good, it helps you. Yep.
I'm so confused.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, then what if we didn't? Then what if none of us here like Gatorade? But
so confidence, I was always confident. I had to wrestle my brothers, and I'm going to tell you, every time I stepped on the mat, I thought I was going to win. I believed I was going to win. Doesn't matter who they are. But everyone goes into a match with butterflies, anxious. It's how you control that nervousness. Very, very important. Do you think Dave Schultz went into a wrestling match and wasn't scared?
No.
Yeah, yes he did. He went in there, he's extremely nervous. He's supposed to win. He can only look bad on a close match. He had a lot to lose, a lot to lose. And so you can be ranked #1, but don't think he's not nervous. He's got to prove, oh, I'm #1. There's always somebody coming after you. So know that when you step on the mat, it's calming yourself down. And you know what you do? You choreograph what you're going to do. I know exactly, my kids know exactly what they're going to do in situations. And because of that, they're not nervous. They know exactly in a type. Oh, wrestling in and out of a type. They know what they're doing. When you go out there and you're trying to ad lib, if you're a natural ability and you have great hips, you can do that. But most of us don't. You have to just know how to wrestle and compete that way. So strategy. Coaches not going to scout your opponents. Do it themselves. What's their tie-up? How do they ride? What's their moves? Take it away, and now they got to go be. They're not near the person, not near as good.
So you're saying that we have to scout?
If I had to fight a bear, I would rather fight what? A coyote. Yeah,
Rocco, what do you got? What do you got, Rocco?
I have 2 questions. The first one is, what kind of motocross bike did you ride?
I was sponsored by K&N. Okay, and it was a Yamaha. It was a YZ80. I raced against, Brian Myerscough and Jeff Ward way back in the grandpa days, right?
Yamahas are the best.
I was like third man. I was third man.
My next question is, how long have you been doing wrestling for?
Oh, well, I'm almost 60 years old, so I know. Yeah, I'm an old grandpa, yeah.
Wait, you're a grandpa?
So I've been wrestling my whole life. About 55 years, yeah. And like Gable says, he learned in 10 years in 1 year. So our practices, we throw a lot at you guys, but you got to work on things that will actually help you in your thing. Wrestle smart, train smart. I got kids that will, like that Eli, he'd do 4 practices a day. All he did was tear himself up, right? Do 2 practices, 1 for skill and 1 for what? Getting the speed, getting it down, choreographing what you're doing. Yep.
What's the best advice you could give an incoming college freshman for wrestling?
Don't get hurt. Preserve yourself and keep your grades up. Because everybody knows if you're struggling in your class, you're not going to do anything. You have no focus. You're going to go in your wrestling. You're not going to be focused. You're going to be worried about it. You're not going to do your homework, but you're thinking about it. You're not thinking about wrestling. So get your thing. Don't procrastinate. Do your homework, and then you're ready to go. And school's the most important thing you do. Unless you want to be a high school coach and you're not going to make any money there, you're going to have to be one of the top. Look, all the college coaches outside of maybe a handful are making about $120,000, right? You guys can do that in jobs, right?
You said, don't get hurt. So,
yeah,
what kind of advice could you give them?
So when we went to Iowa, who was the first guy I wrestled? I was a 142-pounder.
Dan Gable?
No, it was Bannock. Lou Bannock,
Lou
right?
Bannock.
Heavyweight.
Yeah.
What's he do? Bam, bam. Look, just be smart. Don't piss these big guys off. I mean, at Iowa's room, you just, I'm sorry. There you are. Well, there's only that big guy over there. That's your partner. That's the way it was. It's not, oh no. So preserve yourself. Don't shoot on somebody that's a lot bigger than you. Let them shoot on you and learn your counters, right? Preserve yourself. Hard, quick drilling, very important. And if someone's really good and he's nasty, wants a headbutt and everything, you don't have to wrestle that guy. Be smart. Risk control, right? Stay away. But your first year is so important not to get hurt, because it sets you way back. Right? Real important. You won't have that problem. You'll be beating up on those guys. But no, it's real important. Preserve yourself, learn. Coaches, I always think about Henry Ford, right? Motor company. His best friend was an engineer and set up all his conveyor belts and everything. And so it broke down. He had him come in. He was fixing it. He fixed it and gave him a bill of $10,000, right? And Henry Ford goes to his friend, oops, sorry about that, and says, what's that bill about? And he goes, what? He goes, well, all you did was a little tinkering, right? And he goes, yeah, that's true. Okay, I'll send you another bill. Sends a bill, $5 for tinkering, and it was $9,990 for what? Knowing where to tinker. And I think coaches do the biggest disservice to young kids going into college. They try and say, this is my system. I have a system, but you may not like to tie up. You may like to tie up. Now, obviously, you're going to have to know how to tie up, because if you don't like to tie up, I'm going to tie you up, right? You only like it. So you don't change wrestlers, you build around it. And that's what you do with your team. If you don't have a lot of talent on your team, you got to do whatever you can to make them competitive, right? And so that's it. Don't let people destroy you. You guys are there because you guys are already good. Now just build around your deficiencies on the mat, different areas, and that's where you look to even other wrestlers. I know high school wrestlers that never even gone to state. But I can tell you, they got a move that they can do better than I can. I want them to come in and show my kids that. So you can always learn from people. But don't let coaches destroy you, because everybody wants to do too much. And
that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Let's give Lindley Kistler a hand. And,
you guys.